Today on Rambling About Cars, it's electrifying. It's not grease lightning, though. It's the Chevrolet Equinox EV. Yay! It's the Jeep Recon. It's the Jeep Wagoneer S. And it's the Jeep Avenger. It's electric SUVs. All of those have debuted. We're going to talk about those. We also have some internal combustion love with the latest Dodge Challenger, Charger last call models. We'll discuss. We've got some Corolla GR pricing. We've got some possible Chrysler 300 news. We've got comments. We got lots of stuff. So
we do.
Without further ado, it's podcast time. I am Christopher Smith, and across the way is Mr. Chris Bruce. And Bruce, and for all of those that are following us on Motor One Podcast on YouTube, as you can see, things are a little different in the Smith household these days.
Yeah, I know. You're slowly packing up to make a move eastward, I guess it is for you. So.
Yeah, it was going to happen at the end of this month. It's going to happen in October, but the home office is a little more echoey now, but I still have model cars above me to remind me what I do for a living. I still have guitars behind me in case I need a musical interlude for some inspiration. So we'll keep right on a trucking.
Yeah. Real quick, anyone out there, we love your comments. We love your reviews. We love your ratings, all of that stuff. And also tell us, should Smith continue to sing like John Travolta in Grease? It was a surprise to me. I won't lie to you, but maybe that's his future calling.
That is absolutely not my future calling. Maybe if I had like a big bag of really salty McDonald's French fries beforehand to really clear my throat out, where I could really get that, but right now I'm sitting literally right underneath my air conditioner. So I feel just
thousands of people have turned off this podcast. Let's for the hundreds that remain. Let's
get thousands of listeners. What?
We do. We actually do.
Yes, absolutely.
I saw the results for last week's episode.
So let's talk about some cars. And like I said, YouTube, Motor One Podcast, like, follow, subscribe. We're on all the audio channels like Spotify, Apple, Google, all that stuff. Follow us wherever you can to listen. We love it. Now let's get to some electrified vehicles, because these suckers have just debuted.
Well, technically, none of them have debuted as we're recording this show. They're all at this moment, right as you and I speak, they're under embargo. But the time you beautiful people listening out there hear about it, they all will have been revealed. So let's kick off. The 2024 Chevrolet Equinox EV has debuted. And let me get this slideshow going here, and then I will tell all you folks about it, because I was the one that wrote up this post, and I was the one that attended the media briefing. So theoretically, I know the most about it here.
You have all of the info. And I mean, while you're doing that, I'll just inject a little bit of commentary here, because we've seen the Blazer EV, and I was pretty excited about that. And now we have the Equinox. And I thought I would be a little bit more excited about it, but looking at it and just reading over what it offers, man, I just feel really meh, just MEH. So why don't you, Bruce, tell us about what this thing is all about here? And we'll see if other people follow my lead on feeling meh or feeling excited.
I see where you're coming from to a certain extent, but also I think if there's nothing like, oh my God, this is the EV that's going to take over the world about this vehicle. But on the other hand, is that it's going to be fairly affordable, at least from what we know so far. So let me get into it. Sure. So this is the Equinox EV. It's going to be available in a bunch of different flavors. They're going to have LT and RS versions. If you're looking at the screen right now, this one with the blacked out grille, that's the RS version. That's the major way to discern the RS models, is that they get this kind of blacked out front end. The LT has a color matching, body color matching front end. But between them, they're essentially the features that you get with them are the same. The RS, you get some bigger wheels, basically, other than the grill and some things like that. And the LT you don't, but like a 3LT and a 3RS are essentially the same, other than kind of what you're seeing here and the size of the wheels. So that is not going to necessarily be a stepping stone or a stepping block for buyers who are going to buy something like this.
Well, I'll ask the question that I know everybody is thinking. Is there a big power bump to the RS, or is it
no,
or is it basically an appearance package?
It's basically, you can get both of them in either front or all-wheel drive. LT or RS. Front wheel drive models make 210 horsepower, 242 pound-feet of torque. All-wheel drive models make 290 horsepower, 346 pound-feet of torque. And that, like I said, that doesn't matter if it's LT or RS. That's the determining factor. There are 2 battery capacities. Unfortunately, Chevy is keeping the exact kilowatt hour ratings for those a secret right now, but they are telling us their estimated range numbers. So at least right now, from what they're saying, the only one that is going to get the standard small capacity battery is the 1LT, which is the base model. So that with front wheel drive will go 250 miles on a charge. If you get the bigger battery, on any other trim with front wheel drive, that gets you 300 miles on a charge. Or if you go all wheel drive, since you've got that extra power, it cuts it down to 280 miles. So solid numbers. It is going to launch, and this is kind of a sticking point for me in general. I hate it when I hate it when automakers. So this vehicle is not going to be on sale until fall of next year. So basically, you are not going to be able to walk into a dealer and drive away in one of these for a year from now. And that's kind of a bummer to me. Like, I understand why an automaker would want to hype up their new products, that they're excited about, but it just feels like such a long lead time.
A year is a very long lead time. And I mean, we see it more with electric vehicles than internal combustion. And
no, I mean, think about Corvette. Even that was what, 6, 8, or Z06 was like 6 or 8 months. Like, it's a little longer we're seeing with EVs, but not egregiously. It just kind of seems to be a trend these days.
Yeah, but with Z06, you're talking about a trim level of an already existing car.
Sure.
So if you want to have people hyped about Z06 and you want to drag it along, maybe they just get tired and buy a regular Corvette, a Stingray. Not quite as big a hit as, okay, here's our Equinox, here's our nice proper EV SUV that's going to be affordable for the family. Oh, but you're going to have to wait a year to buy it. We can't put you in like another Equinox EV. I guess they could go to just a regular Equinox, but I agree. A year is just a long time to wait for what I would consider to be I hesitate to use the term compliance vehicle, because I think I think
unfair.
It's a little more than that. But I do find it just a little underwhelming overall. But if it does check in, now we don't know any official pricing, correct, Bruce?
So again, this is another thing that's going to kind of aggravate people. So there is going to be a 12-month rollout of the Equinox EV. Next fall, the first model that comes out is the 2RS. We don't know the price of that model yet. The last model to arrive will be the 1LT, which is the base model, and Chevy is saying that will start around $30,000. So roughly sometime summer, fall 2024, you will be able to get one of these for $30,000.
For $30,000, which is the price they're, of course, wanting to advertise right off the bat.
Right.
Even though you're not going to be able to get it. Yeah, I'm with you. I am not a fan of those tactics at all.
It's just,
but if this turns out to be,
do it from like a PR perspective, but it's also just kind of a bummer from, like, you see, it's going to cost $30,000. Well, no, not when it arrives, not for the first 6 months, not for, it's going to take a while for that entry-level model to arrive. So it's just...
And why the extra time for the entry level? I mean, I can understand why General Motors did that with the Hummer. That's a 6-figure vehicle or a high 5-figure vehicle. That's not an everyday family
Sure.
volume vehicle, which is what this Equinox EV is trying to be.
Totally.
Why wouldn't you want to get the volume vehicle out there, in spades? The conclusions that I come to, and it's just my conclusions, not conclusions of Motor One or anybody, when it comes to these long lead times with any automaker, I get the feeling that, okay, they want to try to catch the hype train. They want to be out there in the news and in the public's eye with their competitors, but they don't quite have it dialed in yet. You know what I'm saying? I mean,
So
again, that's just my take, because I do not understand a year or year and a half lead time.
let me put my
Between a
capitalist
debut
hat
and
on.
when
Let me
people
put
can
on
buy.
my, my auto exec hat on. And let me say that, for $30,000, that the margins they're going to make on a 1LT is not going to be nearly
It'll
as
be
much as they
slim.
make on a 2RS.
It'll be
Like,
it'll be
that's
it'll be
just,
slim.
those are just facts. Let me put it out. So the 2RS, which is the one that's going to arrive first, and the 2LT are essentially the same. But one of the cool things that they did, and I'll give Chevy credit for this, is that they gave a trim by trim breakdown of, like, here's what the 1LT gets, here's what the 2LT gets, the
Okay.
2RS, the 3LT, etc. So a 2RS will get you 8-way power driver seats, a heated steering wheel, the LED light bar across the hood, the 17.7-inch diagonal infotainment screen. Oh, I'm sorry. These parts are options. Sorry. The 17.7-inch infotainment screen, adaptive cruise control, and super cruise are going to be an option. And then the 2RS also gets 20-inch wheels, whereas the 2LT gets 19-inch wheels.
Okay, so
it,
really, they're starting out probably with the vehicle that most people are going to go for, because we know automakers, they have their base model, they have their range topping model. Most of the sales fall somewhere in between,
in the middle.
Yeah,
Yes.
you don't want just the bare bones stripper model. You may not want the full on, I've got everything coming out my ears model, but like a trim level or two up from basic, yeah, that's where people go, right?
And then, so later on, so they said the 2RS arrives first, and then the 3LT 3RS arrives next, and that does get you the 17.7-inch infotainment screen as standard. You also get adaptive cruise control as standard. Super Cruise is still an option. A head-up display is an option. Bose stereo is an option, but still, like, big infotainment screen, adaptive cruise, those are nice standard features to have. Again, we don't know what that's going to cost. We know the starting cost is going to be around 30 grand. We don't know how high it's going to go.
Well,
but,
and considering everything that's happened just in the last year, never mind the last 2 or 3, how could you forecast what prices are going to be a year from now? I mean, I guess that's another bit of a sticking point when you set up a debut for a vehicle that's going to come a year down the road. The way things are right now, I mean, prices could be way up, prices could be way down in a year. So,
And so that actually came up during the media roundtable. Someone, not me, asked, how confident are you that you are going to be able to stick to that roughly 30 grand starting price? And Chevy's response was, we wouldn't put that number out if we didn't think we could do it.
Okay.
Obviously things can change. Who knows, massive inflation, a recession, who knows, but at least right now they seem confident that once the 1LT arrives, it will be right around 30 grand. So, something to keep in mind. One thing I did want to point out is that this is not just an Equinox with an electric power plant shoved into it. It is, let me see, let me get the exact numbers here. It is 2.3 inches. Is that what it is? 2.3 inches wider than a standard Equinox. It sits about an inch lower, and weight is kind of a wash length is kind of a wash. It's basically the same length. So
Mhm.
wider, lower, roughly the same length from the Equinox that you know of today.
No, I mean, like I said, there's nothing that really stands out bad about it. There's just nothing
No,
that's really grabbing my attention. But I mean, it's designed to be a mainstream vehicle, and
and that's the thing is
if they
that
can get it in for for the price that they're advertising, I know a lot of people won't go that low, but if they can stick to that and then keep the other trims fairly reasonable, I mean, it's designed to be a volume seller. I just maybe we've gotten so used to seeing EVs coming out with some sort of dramatic, um, you know, feature or dramatic performance. Maybe we've just gotten so used to that we're getting a little blind to like the volume vehicles that are going to be out there. Because even when the Mach-E came out, I mean, the standard Mach-E, I mean, it's still a pretty decent vehicle, but you also had the Mach-E GT to look at, right?
Mhm.
With the Blazer came out, and
It is
isn't
the
it?
SS,
Yeah,
which what
the
over 500. I want to say it's 560 horsepower.
the
I might
SS that
be,
kind of serves
it's
as
it's
the Halo
500
vehicle.
plus, but
Yeah.
yeah,
So maybe we've just gotten a little jaded there. Well, I got to
right.
give the Equinox a bit of a chance here.
I think that's totally fair. 557 for the SS Blazer, by the way, EV. I think that's fair because, like, think about, is there anything about the standard Equinox that really excites you?
I mean, not me personally, but I'm not that target market. I don't have a family. I don't have a need for um really even 5 passenger seating that much, never mind anything larger. So
And
um
I would put myself in the same
mhm.
position, but I guess my point is, if the standard Equinox isn't doing anything to really excite you, is it really a surprise that the Equinox EV is kind of in the same boat?
Now,
Um,
when the pictures first came out, when we had the teasers um back at the beginning of the year, I think if I remember correctly, we saw the Equinox first and then the Blazer came later. It might have been switched around,
remember.
but I remember seeing the Equinox and thinking, well, that looks pretty slick. And somewhere between now and then, I don't know, maybe well, there have been a few things that have been changing in my life since then, so maybe my tastes have just changed a little bit. But we'll
I
give it a
do want to point out.
chance.
Oh, I real quick, I want to point
Yep.
out one last usability feature, and this is going to be a niche group, unfortunately, but it's something that could conceivably trickle down to other models. So, if you get the 3RS, which is the top level trim, there is an optional 19.2 kilowatt level 2 charger. Level 2 charger, for anyone out there, that is an AC charger, like you would essentially plug into a wall at home, plug
Mhm.
into the type of charger that you would install in your home, not a DC fast charger. Assuming you get that, so that's an option already. It supports 3 kilowatts, what they're calling vehicle to load. Essentially, what that means is you can plug items into your vehicle and run items from your vehicle when you're not using it. And so I looked this up, and Honda is kind of, to me, kind of the default when it comes to generators, and they offer a 3 kilowatt generator. And according to Honda, from a 3 kilowatt generator, you can run a refrigerator, you can run a basic AC unit, and basic home backup. I'm sorry, I'm looking at it right now. So that is something that, assuming you get the top of the line Equinox plus, this option on top of it, you are going to have that ability to do. And that's going to be something useful. Say you're going out tailgating, say you're going out for, probably not overnight camping. Not saying the vehicle can't do that, but I don't know that a lot of Equinox owners are doing that, is kind of what I'm saying. But like, you could plug in an electric grill, you could plug in, power tools or stuff like that. And that's something that this vehicle is going to support. And it's something we talk about a lot when we talk about like an F-150 Lightning or stuff like that. But this much smaller, much kind of more family friendly vehicle is going to support things like that as well.
No, I think that's one of the cool things about EVs is I mean, I think about the times where I would go out to car shows and I have a little power inverter that I would plug into the cigarette lighter so I could run things. To have all of those, to have that capability, to plug stuff in, run stuff anywhere, it's cool.
Totally.
I'm on
So,
board.
I
Well,
think it's
Bruce,
your turn now to tell me about some electric crossovers, because I looked at the press release. I've got the pictures pulled up, but you actually wrote up the story for us. So throwing
you've
the
got
ball into your court.
you've got everything pulled up on this because I feel like an ass following your very comprehensive, well-researched, very knowledgeable coverage of the 2024 Chevrolet Equinox. We have some new SUV reveals from Jeep as part of their 4xe Day. And I got to catch myself because I still want to say 4xe, but it's not. It's 4xe. Obviously it's their thing for electrification in the Jeep lineup. The crux of Jeep 4xe Day, which was September 8th, basically they're outlining their future for their model lineup, and they're going like everybody else. They're going hard towards electrics. They're going to debut 4 new EVs by 2025, and they just dropped 3 of them on us here right now. We have the Jeep Wagoneer S, we have the Jeep Recon, and we have the Jeep Avenger. Now, I want to make this very clear.
Yep.
The Jeep Recon and the Jeep Wagoneer S, those are global models. They'll be available in the United States as well as Europe and other markets. The Jeep Avenger, that's the small Jeep. That's the Jeep that we've seen in spy photos in recent months. That's Europe only. Well, Europe, and they're going to offer it also in Japan and South Korea. And that's a compact SUV that slots below the Renegade. So we have 3 of the 4 that they're going to debut. I would love to give you all kinds of information as Bruce did, but really this is an exterior reveal. A little bit more.
Don't we get the interior of the Recon, or am I mistaken?
I don't believe there are any interior photos.
Okay.
There's one.
Okay.
Well, the Recon.
We're looking at the Recon here now, and you can see the doors off, and you can see the seats. So
yeah, you can take the doors off.
Interior reveal.
There's another image of the Recon with the roof back. Let me take this moment to tell listeners about the Recon, because the Jeep Recon, it is going to go on sale. These are all going to go on sale within the next couple of years. The Jeep Recon, it's kind of a chunky Wrangler-esque all electric SUV. We don't have, like I said, we don't have
a little bit Bronco-y. And
this
image we're looking at here, there's a little bit of Bronco.
It does have a little bit of sort of the Bronco squaredness to it.
Sure.
But I was on the roundtable for this with the automaker. They weren't shy in saying that there's a lot of inspiration from Wrangler in the Recon.
Oh, totally.
I mean, with its chunky design, it's designed for off-road. They say it's trail rated. It has like the e-lockers underneath, skid plates underneath. They're not talking about power or performance yet at all for the Recon. But they do say it has the doors that come off like a Wrangler. It's got a power operated top that can pull the top back, so you get that kind of off-road feel. They've designed it for really good approach departure angles. It is designed to be an electric off-roader. But
during the media roundtable, and I'm curious because I actually don't know this. So, like the image we're looking at now, or this other image, they showed the very furthest rear window off. I assume that's not a power thing. That's something you have to do manually.
They didn't go into details on that, but they did say that the doors and glass sections can come out. Okay, so that could be a feature in that area. Don't know exactly how it works. I mean, for the record, they didn't actually clarify if these are final production vehicles. They're not called concepts at all. Jeep has said that both the Recon and the Wagoneer S reservations will open early next year. They will go into production and be on sale for 2024. But we haven't, I mean, like I said, this is more of an exterior reveal kind of teaser. We're not getting a good look at the interiors. We're not learning anything about the powertrain yet. But that's the Recon, and I suspect that's probably going to be the one that gets more attention because it does embody that sort of off-road Wrangler-esque feeling. It's designed to go crawling at Moab. But and this
Right,
was
and to
also
point
brought
that
up.
out, in their press release, they did say that it would do Moab's Hell's Revenge. They were pretty
Mhm.
proud of saying that. Am I mistaken there?
I no, I believe you're correct. They were very clear during the roundtable because it was brought up whether or not this is basically going to be the future Wrangler, and they said no. Wrangler, it certainly is an inspiration, but Recon will not replace Wrangler. Full stop. And I thought that was a very interesting point because I mean they were adamant. They're like, no, no, no. This is not previewing a future Wrangler. This is the Recon. This is something very different. Now let's move on to the Wagoneer S.
Sure thing.
And I take a little issue with the name because it really has more of a Grand Cherokee vibe.
Yeah.
It's considered midsize. It's not big like the Wagoneer, um, but it's given the Wagoneer S name because it's really more on-road performance. Again, we don't have any information on horsepower. We don't have any information on battery. We do know actually this will have an estimated range of about 400 miles,
Okay.
but Jeep was keen to say it'll go 0 to 60 in 3.5 seconds. So they're
Also impressive.
obviously aiming this more as an on-road performance vehicle. In fact, during the roundtable, they even referenced the Trackhawk, the Jeep Trackhawk.
Mhm.
I mean, they said, "Hey, this is Jeep Trackhawk territory for performance." They wouldn't say one way or another whether this would be essentially whether they would bill it like a new Trackhawk or a successor to the Trackhawk. But Jeep Wagoneer S, sizzling on-road performance. It's a little more what's the word? They've spent a lot more time, I feel like, on the design of this in terms of an EV to try to make it slip and slide through the air.
Mhm.
The Recon is very Jeep, right? It's
Yeah.
very upright, it's very square, it's very rugged. The Wagoneer S, the edges are curved. They have this
Well, it's got
weird
this
kind
like
of.
interesting roof line that has this integrated
Yes.
spoiler, but then also comes down.
Yes, it has an
It looks
integrated
pretty
spoiler at
great.
the back that they said is designed for both looks and efficiency. But again, they're not talking anything about battery power,
Mhm.
about motor arrangement. All-wheel drive is going to be obvious on this one. The only thing we know for sure, 0 to 60, 3.5, estimated range, 400 miles per charge. I should say, we also know both the Wagoneer S and the Recon are built on the STLA large platform. They both share that
Oh,
platform.
okay.
That was something not in the press release. That was something discussed at the roundtable. So,
That's
um,
interesting because looking at the Recon, I thought it was fairly compact. It looks pretty small in images, but it's
it
interesting.
it looks that way. I think because it kind of gives off this Wrangler Bronco vibe, but it
Right, well, it's
is.
got these really short overhangs,
Yep.
which kind of it's interesting that it's on the STLA large platform because
Yep.
I thought it was smaller, but yeah, interesting.
No, I think it's because it gives off that Wrangler Bronco vibe. And the short overhangs kind of I think make it look a little bit shorter than it is. Now,
Mhm.
something that is small is the Jeep Avenger, and this is the Jeep that won't come to North America.
Right.
Um, Again, this is just a teaser exterior debut. We actually have less information on this than the other two, other than to
Not that we
say
have a lot of information about the other two.
this is the Jeep Avenger. It is designed to slot in below the Renegade. So that should give you an idea of how small this is. We don't have any
Yeah.
information on pricing, power, or range, but we do know this one is coming first. It's going to have an official full-blown debut October 17th at the Paris Motor Show. And Jeep says it will be in dealerships in early 2023. Again, this is for the European market, for Japan and South Korea. It'll go on sale in Europe first. Not sure exactly when it'll be in the other markets. But I mean, it's a big deal for Jeep, right? Because they're finally taking this step into full electrification. And one other thing that's worth mentioning during this roundtable, there was a bit of a teaser for the Grand Wagoneer 4xe. We know that this is going to come eventually, a full-on plug-in hybrid version of the Grand Wagoneer. We don't know anything about it other than they were teasing an estimated range of 500 miles. I'm assuming they're talking about, and they were a little cagey on the words they were using, which I found very interesting, because somebody asked point blank, "Hey, is this, so this is a plug-in hybrid?" And they just kept saying, "Well, it's electrified. It's electrified,
Huh.
but it's not battery electric." So they're offering an estimated range of 500 miles. How that works in regards to electric power versus internal combustion, we'll just have to wait and see on that. They didn't offer any sort of timeline on when that might, when more information might come on that. And of course, they said right in the very beginning, we're going to debut 4 by 2025. 4 fully electric vehicles by 2025, I should point out. So there's still one more that we don't know anything about yet. With all of that said, we might know more in about a week.
Yeah, I had a question for you, though.
Yep.
So I just covered these spy shots today on motor1.com, and we've actually seen other spy shots before. This vehicle is pretty clearly the Avenger. However, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see this. It has an exhaust pipe coming out the back. Did they make any mention today that there would be that they were either, whether it's hybrid or ICE or whatever, some sort of non-electric version of the Avenger? Or could they have been testing this and trying to fool people? Was there anything about that?
There was no mention of that whatsoever.
Okay.
They did say, and I think this has come about previously through various Stellantis reports about their Dare Forward plan, their electrification plan. In Europe, Jeep is planning to be 100% electric by 2030. And then in North America, they're planning to be 50% all electric by 2030. That's battery electric. That's not including hybrid vehicles. So there was no mention about the Avenger. And this is going to be so hard because I keep wanting to say Dodge Avenger for years. And this is the Jeep Avenger, right? No mention about a possible hybrid Avenger. It's a good question, though, and it's a very astute observation. I wonder too if that's just a little pipe put in there to try and confuse people. That might be something worth following up on. I should follow up with them on that.
Yeah, because we don't like that. Wouldn't be that hard. We've actually literally seen Porsche do that, where they'll put fake exhaust on what we know is the Macan EV.
Oh yeah.
So
yeah, it's a very easy way to try to fool people, right?
Right. So I'm not sure. Oh, is there going to be a combustion powered version, or is this just a development vehicle where they're like, hey, let's fool the spy photographers and the journalists, and let's put a fake exhaust on it.
Yeah. No official mention. No official mention on a hybrid version. Just the electric going on sale next year. So yeah, that one's going to come first. Jeep also has an announcement planned at the Detroit Auto Show, the North American International Auto Show. And we know the media days for that start next week. And they said the news they're announcing is different from what they were talking about on their 4xe day. So whether that's something, a special edition of a current model, whether that's information on a Grand Wagoneer 4xe, whether it's information on Jeep deciding they want to join SpaceX and build rockets and fly to the moon.
Well, there were all these rumors that Jeep was going to revive the Jeepster name. And then this announcement came out, and the vehicle that we thought they were going to call the Jeepster turned out to be the Avenger. So my first thought is the Jeepster something else? Like, it's a historic name for them, that it would make sense. There's no reason you couldn't revive Jeepster.
Right.
I wonder.
Right. No,
Yeah.
and during the whole presentation, and Bruce, you and I were talking about this before we started recording. Just an observation that I've had with Jeep, barring the 4xe, the 4xe.
4xe, please.
4xe. That's an X. If they want to say 4 spell it by.
Exactly. I know.
Aside from 4xe, this new announcement with the Jeep Recon, the Wagoneer S, the Jeep Avenger, one thing that you don't notice, there's not a letter E in there anywhere.
No.
in their official names. How many automakers right now are marketing electric vehicles and have E somewhere in the name, whether it's like Equinox EV or the Mustang Mach E?
Right.
I mean, the electric aspect is they're trying to make that part of the name. And Jeep, you just have the Jeep Recon, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you didn't know what was going on with it, you wouldn't know by the name that it was electric. The Jeep Wagoneer S. Oh, okay. What is that? Just a smaller, sportier version of the Wagoneer? Well, I mean, it sort of is. It just doesn't have an engine. It's got electric motors. Jeep Avenger. I mean, I find that a very kind of interesting take. And it almost reminds me a little bit of Dodge, because of course Dodge, Jeep, all under the same Stellantis umbrella here. For a long time, Jeep has really kind of just promoted themselves, has rugged internal combustion. Let's go. I mean, you've got the Hellcats, or not the Hellcat, but the Wrangler 392. And I wonder if they're trying to just kind of tread a little lightly, similar to Dodge, with their move towards electrification. Do you have any thoughts on that, Bruce?
I do. I think it makes sense in the long run, certainly, because there's going to be a point where you don't have to advertise things are an EV. That it either it doesn't make sense, or it just seems redundant, or things like that. If you think about purely electric automakers, Rivian doesn't call out that the R1 is an EV. Tesla doesn't call out that the Model S or Model E or whatever, or Model 3, is an EV. Like those companies are doing. Polestar, they have the 2, the 3. They're not calling out those vehicles as EVs, and so it makes sense to me to a certain extent that maybe Jeep looked at things and said, maybe it's in our best interest if we don't call it out. Maybe, hey, we've got the Jeep Recon, we've got the Jeep Wagoneer S. And when you're talking to your buddies at the cookout and you're like, oh, I just bought a new car. What'd you buy? I bought a Jeep Recon. Oh, that's cool. And it never even comes up that it's electric, because it's not a big deal. It can do all the things that a combustion power vehicle can. Maybe it can do them better. Maybe it has some shortcomings, whatever. But you never even have to explain to people, oh, I bought an EV for XYZ reason. So I think it's interesting in a certain way. And I wonder if that's what some sort of internal discussion kind of came to. Like, let's set the power plant aside. This vehicle, like we were talking about with the Recon specifically, it can go up hell's revenge at Moab. That isn't that enough? Like, who cares if it's powered by gas or electric or ponies or unicorns? Like,
unicorns?
Exactly. Like that's enough, right? So
I mean, it certainly matters to some people. I know some people
it totally does. Yeah.
That they're. I mean, it's like they're borderline having panic attacks over the thought of driving something that doesn't burn fuel. And the more I see it, the more I just kind of scratch my head and wonder where it's coming from. And I suspect, just from my experience being around some other Jeep people, it's not going to be as, I don't think it's going to be as bad as the Dodge camp, where they've just been hammered Hemi and Hellcat for years, and now Dodge is, I mean, they're going to be going electric. How do you get these people that have lived and breathed Hemi for years to accept it. I don't think it's going to be as bad for Jeep, but I still think there's a little bit of that. I want my engine as opposed to an electric motor.
That's also the point that I'm making, is that maybe Jeep thought about, we can leapfrog this. Like, oh, I've got a Jeep Recon.
Oh, just make it a non-issue.
Yeah, like
I see where you're going there.
Electric. You know?
I would love to be in on some of these meetings.
Oh, totally.
At Automotive. I mean, I would, maybe I'm just a nerd, but I would find this fascinating just to sit there and listen.
Jeep executives, if I'm giving you more credit than you deserve, you come on this show and tell me that I'm smarter than you.
Come on the show and tell us. Or Bruce, you know what else they could do?
What's that?
I'll tell you what they could do. They could email us at podcast@motor1.com. They could go to YouTube, Motor One Podcast on YouTube, and comment. They could leave a big fat comment about how right or wrong we are. They could also go to motor1.com every Friday, where we post an article that summarizes our podcast. They could leave a comment there. And you know what, folks? Everybody listening out there, all the ramblers, you can leave comments too. You can email us. You know we love to look at these. You know we love to read them. We love to get your feedback. And I think we have a little bit of time, Bruce.
Yeah.
We have a little bit of time, and we have a few comments to go through. So why don't we take a little bit of an interlude before we get to Chrysler and Toyota news?
Sure.
And let's give back a little bit to the ramblers out there. Do we want to start with YouTube, or there's a fantastic email that I think we should spend some time on?
Do you have the email pulled up right in front of you? Because I would say let's start with that, but otherwise, if you don't have it right. Okay, let's start with that, and I will pull up YouTube stuff while you are reading that.
I have the email right here that came in from Jonathan. Jonathan, we thank you very much for sending this email in. Jonathan says, always enjoy your podcast. Thank you very much. To the two Chris's, I always enjoy your weekly podcast. Best out of all the podcasts I listen to.
You lie, Jonathan. You lie.
Well, I was going to say you flatter.
If not, I can tell you some other podcasts to listen to that are better than ours.
Don't chase away like the 5 other people that are listening. Come on.
That's right. Yeah.
You guys crack me up. Thank you. For what it's worth, what's your take on the continually delayed C8 Corvette Z06? With the hybrid electric E-Ray, possibly with its instant torque of the electric motor along with all-wheel drive, put great pressure on the 670 horsepower Z06 on tight tracks. I'm going to stop right there because we haven't really reported on some of the rumors that we've been hearing about Z06 delays. They've been out there. We generally try our very, very best to get feedback straight from the automaker.
Right.
But they're
I mean, we can talk about this real quick.
Yeah.
It's just that Google's algorithm is really weird, and reporting on rumors is getting increasingly, I'm going to call it complicated. I'm not going to say difficult or easy. I'm going to say complicated for us.
Yep.
Because it behooves us to have confirmation, or at least information one way or another. So yeah, while there's a lot of scuttlebutt, there's a lot of rumors, it's hard. It's getting harder for us to, I shouldn't say harder. It is getting more complicated for us to cover that stuff.
Complicated. And we also, I mean, what's better than rumor having the straight information? But we also know that there are going to be many, many, many times where it's just not going to be possible to get that information. And the rumors have grown, and they have been coming from increasingly reliable sources. I know some of the Corvette forums have been, just reporting on some things. I mean, my take on it all, we do know this was confirmed. The Corvette production was shut down recently for a week. Supply issues. Whether or not, I mean, you were asking here, the hybrid electric E-Ray possibly with its instant torque electric motor, along with the all-wheel drive, putting pressure on the Z06. I mean, I don't think there's any sort of delays related to that. I think at this point, it's what everybody's dealing with. It's still supply chain issues. It's still microchips. It's still going to be COVID to a degree. As people get COVID, they have to be out for a while. They have to isolate for a while. I think that's really what's going on here. I have a feeling that Chevrolet would love to sell every single Z06, that they have orders for. And I mean, from what I've been hearing, there are people that are really excited to get it. So I mean, that's my take on the delay. I don't think it has anything to do with potential future electrified Corvettes.
Yeah, I would agree with that take.
And Jonathan also goes on to say, I happen to have a reservation on the Z06 and the electric Corvette. Very good.
Wow, impressive.
What do you like better, the GR Corolla? We're gonna shift gears now here.
Okay.
What do you like better? This is still Jonathan. What do you like better, the GR Corolla for 40 odd grand or the manual Supra Corolla?
Oh, easy to answer. Okay,
Corolla.
Cool. Corolla, yeah.
Corolla. Because if I want a Supra, I'll just get the BMW.
Yeah.
And I'm a huge stage rally fan, and I just want that little 3-pot turbocharged screamer all-wheel drive just to go into a parking lot and just sit in one spot and do donuts until the tires blow up. Don't do that. Yeah. That's dangerous, people. Don't do that. Don't be like me. But yeah, I would take
that. This is not entirely true, but I feel like little bits of it are true. The Supra to me feels like chili in a certain way. It's a hodgepodge of parts. There's some, there's definitely some Toyota bits in there. We know there's some BMW bits in there. And they just kind of mix stuff around and they came up with the Supra. The Corolla, if I'm going to stick by that analogy, is more of a steak. Like, it all comes from one thing, and that one thing is Toyota. And, for better or worse, but yeah, I agree with you that little 3-cylinder that from everything we've seen is just tunable to no end, all-wheel drive. And we're going to be talking about it here a little bit more in just a minute. In terms of price.
We do have it a little bit more. If it was,
if you parked both of them next to each other and said I could have the keys to either, I'm driving away in the Corolla.
Talking about, do I have to stick with the chili and steak analogy? Because that one really doesn't. No. That doesn't work for me because I make amazing.
It can be a bad analogy. I'm doing it as best. I'm doing it off the top of my head, man. I'm not a genius but no, here. Pick your own.
You're absolutely right. The GR Corolla feels authentically Toyota to me, and the GR Supra does not. I mean, that's I don't even need an analogy there. I'll just say it point blank. I think the Supra is a great performance vehicle. I'm not knocking it for its performance. It just doesn't, and I don't think it ever will feel authentically Toyota. If I want an authentic Toyota performance experience, I'll get the GR Corolla. Mm-hmm. And then Jonathan, let me just get to the end of your email here because you're asking about the Corolla. By the time you get this email, I imagine the embargo would be over. It is. Looking forward to hearing which one you prefer driving. Keep up the great podcast, guys. Thanks very much for sending in this email. We very much enjoy reading it. We always love the messages that make us think about stuff. So if you have any questions, any comments, something that can really make us go, send that stuff in. But we also have some comments on YouTube to get to. So let's jump over to those.
These are shorter ones, but they're fun. I especially love this first one. So frequent commenter Ted Adam Green says, thanks for another great, he says threat, THREAT. I'm going to hope that's an autocorrect issue and he meant great. But if not, thanks for threatening us too. Thanks for another threat ramble, guys. Me and my daughter, Emily, in her early 20s. Emily, I'm so sorry. If you're listening to this, I'm sorry, Emily. Listen to this very early in the morning on our way from Macon to Atlanta for this month's Caffeine and Octane. And it was a great podcast and a good car show too. Appreciate all y'all do. So Emily, I hope you enjoyed us, and I hope that's not a threat.
Thanks, Ted, for the comment. And Emily, of course you enjoyed listening because we're not regular car guys. We're the weird Chris's, and we bring something a little different to the table. So thank you both for listening.
Harf of Jar, who is also a frequent commenter, he said, and this is to preface it, it is talking about the Civic Type R. It's the badge snobs that pass up on the Civic and buy a Golf, or worse, they'd rather have a base spec BMW than a fully equipped Honda at the similar price point.
Ooh, shots fired.
All right, shots fired. We have Anon, and I appreciate this. This is exactly what I was looking for, and that was also for the episode with the Civic Type R.
And Anon's avatar is just like Batman.
Bat signal.
So Batman found what he was looking for. I don't know if I should feel good or a little scared by that one.
This person, I literally cannot say because it is 5 Japanese characters, and I do not speak Japanese. But this person said, "Great video, great video. Car," again great car. On the Civic Type R episode. And then for 2 weeks ago now, so for the Monterey Car Week episode, regarding the electric Dodge Charger sounds and fake gear shifts, and trying to cater for the reluctance of their traditional buyers to cross over to electric, there's a real risk they've gone too far, and now they're being patronizing towards those same buyers, treating them like children and not giving them enough credit. And I will read, someone responded to that. Again, not us. This is from Dove Jones. "I see that risk, but I think there's another thing that Dodge is risking here. Sure, it's an electric vehicle, but I feel like they might be spending so much time trying to answer car enthusiast complaints about EVs that they hamper the vehicle itself. The sound doesn't bug me as much since there's no real effect on the vehicle, but the gears might. And Dodge has clearly been focus testing with the Daytona SRT in mind."
I'm glad you went back and caught those, because I caught those this afternoon about the Charger SRT concept. And the reply, especially from Dove, I appreciate both the comments. Yeah, I will Dodge, in a sense, detract from EV performance by trying to make it more appealing to a non-EV crowd. That's another thought-provoking thing. The setup that they're working on with gears, Dodge didn't explain exactly what it was about, other than, okay, your Dodge Charger SRT concept, your Daytona SRT concept, will have some measure of gear shifting where you can be involved in the process. Whether it's like a video game where it's not really doing anything, you're just going to go through the mode. Don't know how it's going to work. But we know EVs with their instant torque, they don't really need gears. And if you don't have to take a moment to swap a cog, that's just a moment that you can accelerate faster, right? So it's a very astute point. But at the same time, would you give up like a half of a second 0 to 60 for an increased experience and enjoyment behind the wheel? I certainly would.
I mean, isn't that kind of what Koenigsegg's doing with their bizarre transmission in the CC850, where if you want to drive it like a 6-speed gated manual, you can. Or if you want it to be a 9-speed automatic, that's possible too, that you can kind of pick and choose. And we don't know, I'm speculating here, but like, what if Dodge is doing the same thing? That if you want that kind of that bang as you change gears, you can do that. Or you can just do that pure straight line EV thing. Like, it doesn't seem like there's anything preventing that. Again, I have no evidence that that's what they're doing, but there's a lot we still don't know about the concept. Good points all around. Totally. What do you think? Would you give up a half a second of performance to have a better experience behind the wheel? Would you give up 1 second? Are you just going to stick with your 1978 Datsun and just enjoy the drive with the 6-cylinder thrill? Do I get a 78 Datsun 280Z? Because I'll take it.
Yeah. What would you do? Email us podcast@motor1.com. Comment on Motor One Podcast on YouTube. Comment over at motor1.com on our articles. Thank you very much for the comments, everybody. We're glad that we had some time to get to them this week. Let's talk about these last two news items, Bruce. Which one?
Okay.
How about we go? How about we stick with Dodge and jump over to what we're hearing with Chrysler?
Okay, sure thing.
Because this is interesting. I can talk about this. I wrote it up. Chrysler here on September 6th on their social media accounts, they just updated banners on their social media accounts. That's all they did. And it's just a very simple gray background with a Chrysler emblem. And then underneath it just says, we're bringing the power in 2023. Stay tuned. That's it. So, okay, bringing the power.
So what's the story, Smith?
So bringing the power in 2023. Stay tuned. What exactly does that mean? Okay, power. These days, when you say power, people are thinking electricity, electric power. Well, we did learn that. Okay. Well, let me just read the update that I put on this article because it's interesting timing that they put this image up talking about bringing the power in 2023, very specific for 2023, as we're just coming into the Detroit Auto Show. And it's also interesting timing as we're right in the middle of Dodge going through its last call models, an ode to the Hemi V8, right, for the Charger and Challenger. So we did get some information. Let me read the update here. We still don't know the nature of the power, quote unquote, here that Chrysler is talking about, but we do know the automaker has a press conference slated for September 13th ahead of the Detroit Auto Show. A vehicle unveiling is scheduled to take place during the press conference, and it is specifically called a special edition Chrysler vehicle. So based on that update that we got from Chrysler, and this image, okay, we know they're bringing the power for 2023. That's next year. We know they are unveiling a special edition Chrysler vehicle. Special edition Chrysler vehicle doesn't mean they're launching a new EV. It means it's a special edition of something that's out there, right? I mean, am I off base on this?
You're not jumping. No, that all makes sense so far.
So if you're bringing the power in 2023 with a special edition Chrysler vehicle, Chrysler has what? The Pacifica and the 300?
Those are the only Chrysler. Yes, those are the only Chrysler products available. Yes.
So by if we continue just kind of knocking this down, okay, if you're going to bring the power into something, are you going to bring the power into the Pacifica minivan? And how much power are you going to bring into it? Or are you going to bring the power into a special edition Chrysler 300? Now, to go a little further, of course, we know once upon a time, the Chrysler 300 was offered in SRT trim. This wasn't a Hellcat, but it was the SRT8, and I can't remember what the horsepower rating was on it, Bruce. But I mean, it's been a few years, but they did make a high performance version of the 300.
Am I wrong? Anyway,
and
yeah,
what were you saying? What were you saying?
I said 400 something, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, 400. I'm just kind of lost in my own speculation because what I really want to say
I've got
is
something for you. So
because what I really want to say is Chrysler 300 Hellcat. We don't know. Okay, everybody listening right now, we have absolutely no idea what's coming other than we're bringing the power in 2023. Stay tuned. Special edition Chrysler, which means some version of the Pacifica or some version of the 300. You go on Chrysler's social media accounts and like on their Facebook posts that they put up, I mean, everybody's just crying, oh, Chrysler 300 SRT, 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 Hellcat. So what are the odds that we're going to see some amped up version of the Chrysler 300 announced at the Detroit Auto Show? I would say, based on what we have here, pretty good, especially considering we're looking.
There's nothing we know from that platform. We know that the 300 rides on the same platform as the Challenger and the Charger. There's nothing that's going to prevent putting that engine in there. We also know that that platform is on its last legs. That, you know, we know that an electric vehicle is going to replace the Challenger and the Charger. We don't know what the future of the 300 is, but we just don't know. But it seems like if you were going to do a last hurrah, a last call, if you will, it stands to reason. Yeah, we are going to do a Hellcat powered Chrysler.
One last dance with the Chrysler 300, which I mean, that platform has been around forever.
Yes, it has.
Forever. Like EVA. That's how long it's been around. Forever. And hey, give it one last send off. I'm all for that. And I bet if they bill it right, if it's just a limited edition vehicle, I bet they would sell it.
Yeah,
I'll bet that's all because
limited run for a
everybody knows
model year. Sure.
Everybody knows right now that I mean, these cars they're headed out the door. The Hellcat engine is going to be going away soon. Even if it's not, even if it's like the 6.4 liter, the 485 horse that you get with the Scat Pack cars, the Charger and the Challenger, that would even be a fairly cool, interesting Chrysler 300 SRT. So there are certainly some options on the table. Of course, what's going to happen now? Dodge is going to come in and, oh yeah, we decided to go ahead and build that Hellcat Pacifica, because minivan.
No, so it's funny. I thought you were going to end that sentence in a different way. I was not stuck behind. So my wife and I were doing a road trip over the weekend, and I was behind a Dodge Magnum, and I was like, there's nothing stopping them technically. Do a 1-year Magnum revival with a Hellcat in it.
Yeah, but that
it's not going to happen. But
I mean, we're talking. I mean, I guess. Yeah, I mean, if we want to interpret it a different way, I guess special edition doesn't have to mean something existing. If they just make a special edition, no,
it's not going to happen.
You're not going to invest that kind of money for something for just 1 year. It's going to be a special edition of either the Pacifica or the 300. And if you're talking about bringing power, I think we're looking at some type of amped up 300, some kind of SRT 300 return. We'll know in about a week because, as you're listening to this, it's about a week away from media days at the Detroit Auto Show. And that's when the announcement will take place.
So we've talked a lot about Stellantis family vehicles tonight. We've talked about what? We were just talking about Chrysler. We've talked about Dodge. We've talked about Jeep. We've talked, but let's shift things another way.
Let's go back
about Toyota.
Let's go back to Toyota. Let's go back to GR Corolla and the email that we received there, because we were alluding to that. Yes, we have pricing on the Toyota GR Corolla hot hatch. Starts at $36,995 in the US. That does include destination charges.
It does.
And I think that's a lot of fun a car. Did I just say that? A lot of fun a car.
A lot of fun a car.
I said that's a lot of fun a car for $36,000.
I mean, keep in mind, and you and I've talked about this, I believe, and it might even be more now, the average car in the US is $42,000 to $45,000. It's something right around there. So considering that this is less than the average, you are getting a hell of a lot of fun for your $37,000.
But I mean, it does go up from there.
It does, yes.
Because that's the base model, which they call the Corolla Core.
Yes.
The next step up is the circuit. The circuit.
Yep.
But that's, if I remember correctly, that's only a 1-year thing, right?
They say there's definitely going to be something to replace it. I would be shocked to my core if they didn't say next year we're going to do something like that, because it has you already spent the money. You developed all of these upgrades and we're only going to offer it for 1 year.
Right.
No, you're not going to do that. There's going to be something equivalent to it, something similar, something more. I just don't believe that it's a 1-year thing.
Right. And that's the next, the next step up. And that is $43,995.
Yep.
So it's quite a step up in price from their core model. But you do get the standard limited slip differentials. You get the carbon fiber roof. You get the synthetic leather upholstery. And I mean, it's kind of it looks really mean compared to the standard, the core model for the few extras that it gets. I mean, they do a really good job of just making the most of what they got.
And then the top of the heap, the one that no one's going to get because they're only going to sell. We don't have it in the story here, but I believe it's sub 1,000.
Yeah, a very, very limited number.
Cars. Yeah, the Maurizio edition, which is 50,995. And with that, you get extra torque. You get a few more. You get a slightly retuned engine. You get more weight reduction. So more torque, less weight, because there are no rear seats, no rear speakers, no rear window, no rear power windows, and no rear wiper blade. So that's how they save that weight. I still wish they kind of make the rear wiper blade thing an option, because that's a useful feature. Like, I could understand, okay, this is our hardcore version, but let's pretend and say someone buys this and then wants to take it on a gravel or dirty road. You're still going to want to clean off the back window, but
you don't need to see
do that.
No, Bruce, come on. In this car, you don't need to see anything behind you. The stuff behind you is losing. That's all you need to know. That's fair. All you need to know. The stuff behind you is losing. It doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. I see what you're saying though. They're trying to be hardcore. I don't know. I guess it doesn't really bother me either way. But I mean, it doesn't matter because I mean, it's $51,000, and you know there will be inevitable markups, so it'll be tough. Probably, even if you can find one, it'll be tough to find one at that price point. I suspect for a while it'll be tough to find one at the base price, $36,995.
Right.
I think because I'm really excited about this car.
Totally.
If I wasn't moving and I wasn't seriously considering a new Honda Civic because I'm just about fed up with the Mazda, and about a bazillion other factors that would fall into place, I would be waiting for a Corolla, a GR Corolla, because I love everything about that car. I think it looks mean. I think that little 3-cylinder, from the sound clips that I've heard, it sounds amazing for a little tiny engine. It's got great power. It's got great stance, all-wheel drive. I would get in it and I would just keep going until I ran out of gas. And then I would call somebody to bring me gas because I wouldn't want to leave the car. I would just stand there and look at it. That's how weird and crazy I am about this car. But yeah, pricing
you're
finally
not
out.
Any fight from me. And who Angel wrote this, I believe, our coworker. Yeah, Angel wrote this, and then he compared the price in the U.S. to kind of its competitors. So a base GR Corolla, $36,995. That is, what would you call it? $4,000, I guess, once you figure in more than a WRX. But also, it's about $9,000 less than a Golf R. So. Yeah, and that's just the base model. What the other one is $43,995. Honestly, I would take this over a Golf R pretty much every day of the week.
I would, and I'm a Subi fan, and I would still take this. I would extend a little bit more to get the GR Corolla over the WRX. The new WRX, it feels like something that they phoned in.
It feels like a compromise.
Yeah. It feels like something that they phoned in. GR Corolla feels like something that's like a group of maybe 6 or 7 enthusiasts sat around and was like, can you believe they're going to let us build this? It's that kind of vehicle.
Yeah. It feels like something the engineers came in on their weekends off and developed. And then they were shocked when they said, yeah, we're going to build it. Like, wait, what?
What?
We're doing this? Great. Like it feels, it feels like something that shouldn't exist in the modern world, especially when you look at Toyota right now, where they're clearly pushing towards EVs. And it's like, this feels like something that just like slipped in under someone's attention, that like some bean counter, some exec wasn't paying attention, and they just like wrote this in under Corolla. Yeah, it's a Corolla. Oh, it's a Corolla. Yeah, we sell millions of those. We'll do this too. And somehow it happened, and thank God it did.
Yeah, well, hey, it's a little 3-cylinder Econobox, right? It's
exactly.
It still works in 2022. It's just what? It's just a little 3-cylinder Corolla.
Yeah.
It's still friendly. It's just angry and friendly.
Exactly.
What do you think, folks? Is it angry and friendly? What a terrible segue that was.
No, you're fine. So
angry and friendly. Okay, really quick. Go ahead.
So we're at an hour and 10 minutes. So we got about 5 minutes left for what we usually do for the show. And so you and I talked about doing this, and that is and I just opened the wrong tab there for everyone who can't see my computer. The new, what is it? The Dodge Challenger something swing, Scat Pack Swinger edition.
That's right. We didn't talk about that, did we?
We did not. So real quick, why don't we hit that? And basically, it's just an opportunity for me to make fun of an old ad.
Yeah, well, let's touch base. I can't believe it, man. I am off my rocker here today. I did not have enough cool in my aid, it looks like, to get through this episode. So yeah, so every Wednesday for the last couple weeks and for another couple weeks, Dodge, they are unveiling their last call special edition models of the Charger, of the Challenger. And this week, it wasn't a Charger or a Challenger. It was both. It was the Charger Scat Pack Swinger and the Challenger Scat Pack Swinger. Now, Swinger, Mopar fans will recognize the name. That was a trim level on the Dart back in the late 60s, early 70s. The Dart Swinger. And in this case, just as the others, it's an appearance package that's applying to the Scat Pack cars. So that's the 6.4 liter Hemi V8, 485 horsepower. In the Charger, it's automatic only. In the Challenger, you can get a manual or automatic. And the package, as you can see here, pictures on Motor One podcast if you're watching, or you can go to motor1.com to see the article. Mm-hmm. It loves green. You can get these cars.
Love this color combo. I love dark green body with a kind of a lime-ish green stripe over the rear deck,
on the rear,
a black wing on both of them. I love this color combo.
And it also adds gold trim. You get gold badges, and it's not like a really bright gold. It's actually more of a subtle gold. When you look at it in the pictures,
it's almost like a bronze.
Yeah, it doesn't really. It's very attractive, I think, on these cars. If you were to ordinarily think, oh gosh, a dark green and a light green and a gold, that makes me sick to my stomach. No, it actually looks really good on here. You get the gold with badges. On the Challenger, it has the shaker hood, and that scoop is done in gold. And then of course there's the lighter shade of green for the Swinger graphics on the outside. There's some more green trim on the inside, like with contrast stitching, some more badging on the inside. They're going to make 1,000 of each. So there'll be 1,000 of the Chargers, 1,000 of the Challengers. There's no pricing yet. Pricing will be made available closer to when they go on sale. But yeah, those are number, I think, 3 and 4 out of 7.
Yep.
So next Wednesday will be if they go back to just one, number 5. And then number 6. And
I just have to mock. So we were talking about this in our chat. I have to mock this old ad of the Dart Swinger because, like, so.
Well, let's describe it.
I'm going to be very safe for work here.
Okay.
If anyone knows what a swinger is, I'm not going to describe it, but maybe
a person that sits on swings and you swing back and forth.
Yeah. You might swing back and forth with maybe one person, and then maybe someone else comes along, and you swing with them
on the swing set. Everybody's just relaxing on the swing set, and this is a very nice looking ad. That's a trying to think of what shade of yellow that is. on that
I want
1970
to know
Dodge
what
Dart.
shade of orange this man's pants are. Is my bigger
Those
question.
are that's very orange pants. But I mean, we have the yellow Dart with the black vinyl roof, or is that a
We do.
convertible?
Yep.
I can't. It looks like a black
No,
vinyl
that's a
roof.
black vinyl roof. Yep.
Those
And
are those are very orange pants. My God, Bruce, where did you find this, man?
Clearly Dodge. That's where I found this.
So
But yeah,
so this
so
is
we
the
have
ad.
a man with a lady, and the ad copy says for the smart swinger, the dart swinger. If you're a swinger who thinks your budget can't swing a new car this year, take a look at the Dart Swinger, our lowest price two-door hardtop. Swinger's big and roomy inside for that big car ride with all vinyl seats that carry 6 of the gang around in style, and new, larger standard engines, a mini fuel 198 cubic inch 6 and a maxi power 318 cubic inch V8. Dart Swinger, one low-priced compact that doesn't slight you on looks, comfort, or extras. See the Dart Swinger soon. And then you have this blonde woman at the very bottom. If you won't take small for an answer, you could be Dodge material. They clearly knew what they were doing here. Again, I have not said anything vulgar. They knew what they were doing here.
50 years ago, things change over time. Meanings can change.
No,
I mean,
they knew exactly what they were saying with every sentence.
I mean, when I first saw, okay, the new last call model is going to be the Swinger. Austin Powers, man. Hey, Swinger, groovy, baby. So you can take it as innocent as you like.
Yeah, I said nothing vulgar, and nor did Dodge in any of those sentences, but they knew what they meant.
Very well could be the case. But Bruce, thanks for bringing that up, man. I even wrote that up today. I was even standing by waiting for it to drop. I can't believe all this talk about GR Corolla and all of the electric Jeeps just got to me, man. So, cool. Folks, your thoughts on today's weird, wacky podcast. Email podcast@motor1.com. Comment on Motor One Podcast on our YouTube channel. Comment on our articles that go up every Friday. Like, follow, subscribe us everywhere that you can find us. Apple, Google Podcast. We love our audio listeners. We love the video watchers and listeners. We love all the ramblers.
Yep, totally. And real quick, for anyone who watched this episode and is anyone who has made it this far, I think, and I'm not going to promise you, but I'm pretty sure this is going to be the last episode with the original opening to Rambling About Cars. No. We do have a new theme song. It is complete. It just needs to be uploaded. And the person who handles that, unfortunately, he was under the weather today, so it didn't happen this week. So I think this is going to be the very last episode with the original opening. So hopefully we will be coming to you next week with a brand new theme song.
A slightly different sound. So if you bring us up and you hear something different and you go to change the channel, if you
don't do that, please don't do that.
Click on something else. Wait, this isn't Rambling About Cars. Yes, it is.
Yep.
We're just giving a new intro a shot here, and hopefully you'll get into it because we're kind of into it.
As always, good afternoon, good evening, or good night. As Smith and as I have said during this episode, we love your comments, we love your feedback, we love your emails, we love everything. Email podcast@motor1.com. The channel is Motor One Podcast. Sorry. We just love all that stuff. It's going to be fun in the future. Like I said, I think we're going to have a new theme tune next week, unless something happens, but I think it's going to happen. So goodbye to everyone. Good night. We love you. See ya.
Bye.